Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessie Nealand, and last month I did a series on the high achiever body image avatar that people seem to like, so I figured let's just keep going. Today we're going to be talking about the outsider, and the next few weeks we're just going to be going into common characteristics of the outsider body image avatar. So we're going to get started with the first common characteristic that I see, and again, none of this is 100% everybody's going to experience it. They just tend to be common patterns. For people who resonate with the outsider, they also tend to be people pleasers. So this is the first one I want to talk about because it's so common and so important to the outsider's understanding of themselves and their body image. So the people pleaser is often a term used to sort of show somebody who is prioritizing other people's feelings and other people's experiences over their own in order to keep the safety of the relationship solid, you know? So the people pleaser might do a lot of favors for other people, have a hard time saying no, struggle to advocate for their needs, struggle to even voice their own, thoughts, feelings, desires, needs, any of those things, because they're so focused on trying to make the other person the priority so that the other person is happy so that they stay in relationship with them. So essentially the outsider, and this has to do with other areas of life as well outside of body image, as you can imagine, they're focused on trying to basically make people happy so that they'll be loved. It's a little bit of like a transactional or a sort of a bribe almost. Like if I give you something that makes you happy, if I try to be what you want me to be, or if I try to give you something I think you expect from me, then you'll love me. And it's a really painful way to live life because it has to do with that outsider's sense of worth in the world. Their understanding of themselves as not having worth outside of what they can do to make other people feel good, feel happy. It's really sad when you actually think about what's going on for the people pleaser, but most of us don't usually think about it that way. We just think of it as sort of a compulsive behavior, like, oh, I could never, I have a hard time saying no, or I really like to do things for other people, and I really have a hard time receiving attention or gifts or thank yous or compliments, any of those things, because the person is so focused on deep down that they have to center somebody else's experiences and somebody else's feelings, not their own, in order for that relationship to stay safe. Now, if you know anything about the outsider, and by the way, you can watch all of my other videos on the body image avatars, and I will include a link below just as an overview of all of them. If you haven't seen them yet, the outsider is focused on either securing social connections with their body or appearance, or avoiding social disconnections like rejection, humiliation, criticism, abandonment, that kind of thing. So what happens a lot of the time is that they will be so focused on what other people feel, or at least their perception of what other people feel and want and expect from them, that there is no room for them. They don't even develop a sense of themselves. And the reason for this is because they had a history at some point in their life, usually in childhood, that their attachments weren't secure. Their relationship tank was not full. They didn't get enough connection, or at least the kind of connection that they needed. So they learned to adapt. So people pleasing is sort of a brilliant coping mechanism for somebody who wasn't getting their connection needs met. So it's not a negative thing. I know a lot of people tend to use it in kind of a negative context, but it really is not a negative thing. It's brilliant. It just happens to be that it is the adaptive mechanism often of a child, and it causes harm when we apply that in adulthood. So there are issues that arise from it, but it itself is not a criticism or a negative thing. It's not a weakness. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's totally morally neutral, but unfortunately it does cause issues. So for the outsider, for example, I hear a lot of times outsiders will say things like they feel responsible for what other people are feeling. So they won't necessarily try to make themselves happy because they're so busy trying to make everyone around them happy at all times. And even if they're not thinking about why that is, it's because deep down they feel like that is the only way to keep these relationships safe and protected. And basically they feel like that's their only value. That's where their worth comes from, is their ability to make other people happy. And that's really painful. And also it's sad for them because they don't get to actually do stuff for themselves or get their needs met or show up fully and authentically in a relationship. So all of that stuff tends to pour out into body image as well. And I've even had clients say things like, I feel bad that other people have to look at me, which basically says I am responsible for their feelings and their experience. I owe it to them to make them happy. And because I'm not, thin enough or attractive enough or however they want to define it, then I'm letting them down and giving them an unhappy experience. And that's my fault because now they have to feel, grossed out, I guess is sort of the big fear, or just not get to experience something beautiful. It's a really bizarre it's not bizarre, it's just an incredibly specific offshoot of that worthiness wound that the outsider carries that has to do with people pleasing. So if you resonate with this, you probably also have heard terms like conflict avoidant or codependent or having an anxious attachment style. All of these things sort of swim in the same waters because of that core wound, where you don't feel worthy of just fully showing up as yourself in relationship. And so instead you try to be what other people want you to be, and you try to make other people happy for them to not leave you. So that's what's going on, and that's why this will often show up for the outsider in a lot of areas of life. But when it comes to how they feel about their bodies, sometimes this is just that habit of feeling like I owe it to people. It's that feeling of like, I don't even deserve to exist if I'm not making other people happy. And so the outsider will often stay really tuned into what they think other people like and want and feel. And then they can, because they're kind of making it up, they can project all kinds of negative criticisms and judgments in their own mind that become their own voice. So when they look in the mirror, they're not necessarily trying to make a specific person happy, but they are thinking like, this would not do. This would not secure my relationships. This body is not going to keep me safe today because it is not going to make people happy enough. Or if I look like this, I'm going to be criticized, abandoned, humiliated, whatever it is, and I'm going to lose the safety, the social connective safety that I crave, all because of how I look. So they project a ton of importance onto their bodies. And then it gets really, really wrapped up in their body image issues and their view of themselves. So this is a common pattern among the outsiders. If you resonate with it, it's totally normal, and it's not a life sentence. You don't have to just live with it forever. There's a lot you can do around it. Many of my clients have gone through things like, therapy to deal with attachment wounds, learning to just advocate for their needs and speak up and be brave and courageous in the face of the fear of rejection. Those are skills that can be built. So there's a lot that can be done here outside of body image and directly with body image that starts to help the outsider become more of a full embodied person rather than someone who moves through the world just trying to make other people happy. So that's the first common characteristic. If you resonate with that, this is why. It's super normal. And that's everything I wanted to say about the outsider today. I'm going to be back next week, and we will be talking about another common characteristic for the outsider, so stay tuned for that. And thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.